Welcome to Crossing Kin and the Crossing Kin Garage. I'm Randy.
And I'm Kristen. And today we are going to start a brand new series on this channel called Let's Recast It. It's going to be a recurring series that we hope will keep popping up every now and then on our channel.
It's going to require imagination out of you because we want to take modern day actors and actresses and put them in
classic movies. Pretty much anything is game. From all the way back in the 20s if we want, to up to probably the 90s.
Classic in Kristen's terms and classic in my terms might be just a little bit different as well as we go forward. So tune in to see just exactly what might happen.
Like Dad said, the way this is going to work, we're going to take modern day actors and put them in the roles of the classic films. But let me make one thing abundantly clear from the outset. We are not requesting a remake by any means.
Of any of the films that we're looking at. We feel like that they're pretty iconic and they're perfect as they are. Take, for example, The Thin Man, back from the 30s and 40s. Or perhaps Star Wars, to make a more modern example. These are films that really have no need whatsoever. We just thought it'd be fun to see what modern day actors and actresses that we could come up with, as well as see what you might want to think about as far as who you'd recast in the roles.
Exactly. So let's get into our first one with 1985's Back to the Future.
1985. I was 3 years out of high school. Phil Collins had the #1 song, Susudio. And July 3rd of 1985 is when this phenomenal film came out. Stephen King, in fact, had the #1 New York Times best-selling book, Skeleton Crew, going on at the time. That gives you a little bit of an idea of what we're looking at. 1985, incredible year. In fact, later on in the year, I started dating my lovely wife, Kristen's mom. Great year.
This film was groundbreaking and pretty much a box office hit. Like, it was a summer blockbuster, yeah?
In fact, 381 million gross revenue, which even in today's terms would be a box office smash. Can you hear me, Black Adam?
Be nice.
Sorry.
Be nice.
Or that new thing, Strange Worlds, Disney. Okay, never mind. Back to the Future is one of the #1 science fiction films of all times.
Starring Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox, Leah Thompson, and Crispin Glover.
Correct. And in fact, it's in 2007, it was put into the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as one of those iconic films that needed to be preserved for all time.
As well it should be. One more thing I would like to note before we get any further, actually two things. Robert Zemeckis himself, the director of this film, has said he does not ever want any more Back to the Futures. The trilogy in his mind is perfect. I actually kind of agree with him. So Robert Zemeckis says no to more Back to the Futures. So again, this is all for fun.
Just for fun. We can't imagine this film being cast with anybody but the originals. But we just thought it'd be fun to see who we came up with and perhaps who you came up with in the titular roles.
The second thing I would like to say is that 2 of the roles actually have been recast in the past.
That's right.
Marty McFly, the main character, was originally played by Eric Stoltz. He played the character for about 2 weeks, and then one of the writers was like, "You are too intense. We can't. No, we're sorry, but no." By that point, their original choice, the person they always wanted to play, Marty, Michael J. Fox, was available for filming.
You might know Eric Stoltz from the incredible film Mask, which was a biographical film about a disabled gentleman, and also from the film Some Kind of Wonderful. Also come out a couple of years before Back to the Future.
Also, Marty's girlfriend Jennifer was recast in the 2 sequels. In the sequels, she was played by Elizabeth Shue.
In the sequels, they came out in 1989 and 1990, and they both were also phenomenal smash hits.
But for now, we are just focusing on the original. That is the only one we're recasting, and the characters that we are recasting are Marty, Doc, Lorraine, George, Biff, and Jennifer. So of course, let's start at the top and work our way down with Marty McFly.
You can't, again, we've said it before, Michael J. Fox dominates this role. However, if we were to ever recast it, Kristen and I both have some opinions about it. We've thought about perhaps doing a gender flip and having a young actress say the young lady from Ghostbusters Afterlife.
McKenna Grace.
McKenna Grace, also an excellent songstress. Have her come along and do some kind of mix-up type deal. However, we got to thinking about the fact that the flashback scenes to 1955 were so eloquently done by Robert Zemeckis that it would be very, very difficult to do a gender flip or any other kind of iteration for the film. So we felt like let's just stay with the casting as gender and everything else that they originally did. So to go with the original, you may hear a recurring theme as we go through because there have been some modern day shows and films for that matter that have really made an impact on our culture. One such thing is Stranger Things.
Which
and my
he has
actor,
not seen.
I've not seen it yet.
Let us know down in the comments below if Dad should watch Stranger Things. Since it's set in the 80s, I feel like he would love it, but then there's some very scary things. That
Kristen says
I don't
perhaps
think
it's
he
a
would
little
love
too
it.
dark for
So
me.
let us know down in the comments below if y'all think Dad should watch Stranger Things and possibly react to it on the channel. Or
Just
at
let us
least
know.
watch it and then react later, because I don't know how.
And we'll let you know if I ever do and what I thought about it. That may be an entire episode, what we think about Stranger Things. But back to our recasting. My recasting for the Marty McFly role is Finn Wolfhand from Stranger Things. He's a young actor. He was also in Ghostbusters Afterlife. That's where I encountered him for the first time. I think he would make a very good Marty McFly. His build, his long hair, his curly hair. But I can honestly see him getting blown through the walls by a Superfly amp. Finn Wolfhard is my Marty McFly.
Alright, so disclaimer, this is probably going to be a long video because I have 3 options for every single cast member. I apologize, but yeah, I have 3 options.
We'll try and tailor her down just a little bit for our next recast it and limit it to just one.
We'll try, but there's no guarantee of that. Anyway, so number 1, I have also from Stranger Things, Joe Keery. He plays one of my favorite characters in Stranger Things, Steve. And he's honestly a very Marty type character. Dad, you know him from Free Guy. He was one of the actors in that. He acts like Marty in Stranger Things. He has a very cool vibe. Joe Keery is just a great actor all around, in my opinion, and I think he would do really well as Marty. Second, kind of a weird pick, but Harry Styles.
The musician?
The musician from One Direction originally. He currently has a solo career going, but he also has a bit of an acting career going. He recently played Eros in the post-credit scenes of Eternals. He was also in Dunkirk, which I believe you've seen.
Yes, fantastic film.
So yeah, it would be an interesting take on Marty, but since he is a musician, it would kind of be cool. Also, I think he plays guitar, so he wouldn't have to be dubbed or taught how to play guitar for the Johnny B. Good section.
Right.
So that would be really, really cool. So yeah, Harry Styles would be a very interesting choice for Marty. And lastly, a name you guys might not know very well, Dylan Minnette. The only thing I really know him from is the 6th season of Lost. He played Jack's son. It's weird, I'm not getting into it. But he's also recently done a horror movie called Don't Breathe, and he was in the Goosebumps movies, I believe. And he's a little bit more of the awkward part of Marty, in my opinion. I think he would play the awkward, freaking out over the fact that his mom is kind of hitting on him version of Marty. I think he would play that version of Marty very, very well. And considering that's the Marty we're with for the bulk of the movie, like,
There are things in this movie that might not even get shot in a modern day film.
Yeah, half of the movies we cover probably have at least one or two things that would not necessarily fly in a modern day movie.
Or Marty McFly.
But yeah, I think Dylan Minnette would be a good Marty, just because I think his reactions to the whole situation would be spot on.
Very good. Next we go to Doc. One of my favorite character actors, Christopher Lloyd. My first encounter with Christopher Lloyd was in the incredibly witty but a little strange television show Taxi. It launched a lot of careers. Mary Lou Henner was in that. Andy Kaufman was in that television show. Christopher Lloyd was in the television show. And several others. If you get a chance, go check out Taxi. I'm sure it's streaming somewhere. But Christopher Lloyd brings to Doc a frenetic curiosity that would have to be imbibed by whoever we recast. I thought about someone like Martin Short, or perhaps Dan Aykroyd, maybe even a Chevy Chase. However, I settled in on a lady who I have really come to appreciate her acting credentials. She's been in several things, including the Harry Potter films. Most recently, we've seen her in the Netflix television show Enola Holmes. I've cast Helena Bonham Carter. Now, there are some things in that you would have to really step around and imagine again, going back to the gender flip that I mentioned previously. Helena Bonham Carter, I think, could pull off Doc's role, even though it is different than the original. And here's the reason why. Kristen and I were talking about it, and Doc was really an outcast. Even in 1955, he was heralded as a scientist, but he was still living out a little ways from the city and kind of kept to himself, and everybody thought he was a little eccentric. Helena Bonham Carter.
Also, something I pointed out to you is that her being an unmarried woman of science in the 50s would have definitely seen to it that she was seen as an outcast, even if she did come from money, which the big fancy house that Doc is living in the 50s certainly seems to suggest.
Right. Eccentricities aside, Helena Bonham Carter is an exquisite actress. You look at the things that she's done with Tim Burton and the things that she's done with Johnny Depp, aside from the Harry Potter roles that she filled. Just an exquisite actress.
All right, once again, 3. I've got 3 for everybody, so
sit back
and enjoy. I cannot get like the physicality of Christopher Lloyd out of my brain.
Right.
So I
yes.
kind of I looked for modern day actors with a similar build to him. So my top pick is Paul Bettany, best known for the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now, as well as Knight's Tale, or at least that's what I know him for.
He was also in a great movie called Wimbledon about tennis,
which I have not seen, but I've heard that it's really good. He proved in the Disney Plus show WandaVision that he can go for zany without being stupid, I guess is the only way I can phrase it. And there are a lot of actors who can't do that. When they go for zany, it just comes off as, what are you doing? Paul Bettany managed to find a balance there. So he can definitely do the eccentricities. I can hear him going, Great Scott, over and over again. I cannot get his voice going, Great Scott, out of my brain. Even if he has to cover his accent just a hair, Doc already has kind of that New England-y kind of accent, because I think that's the accent Christopher Lloyd has naturally. So it wouldn't be a bad thing if his Britishness came through too bad. In the vein of Britishness, also doctors, I have Matt Smith. He's already comfortable with time traveling and being called doctor. So, I mean, and also he has the beanpole type body that Christopher Lloyd had. Matt Smith is, everything I've seen of him in the clips of Doctor Who I've not seen all of it yet. Let us know if I need to watch Doctor Who in the comments below. Matt Smith is a very good actor. In the same way Paul Bettany can go for comedy and not come off silly, Matt Smith pushes it just to the edge. He can go, but he can also be really intimidating, which, considering Christopher Lloyd is terrifying in the only other role I've seen him in.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yes, as Judge Doom, he's terrifying. But Doc even has some of those more
intense
moments. Thank you. That's
You're
what
welcome.
I was after. Especially when he's just kind of yelling at Marty, and when he sees the Libyans, he goes for intense as well. So yeah, Matt Smith. I think he'd be interesting. My last pick for Doc. He's way outside the ballpark, but I think it would be really interesting. Johnny Depp. Now, he may not have the exact, physicality that I've been talking about, but, look at him in Willy Wonka. He can get there. It's not that difficult for him.
Definitely the eccentricities of Doc.
The eccentricities would not be lost anywhere with
Right.
Johnny. But Johnny can play serious, and he can bring a good bit of weight. Doc does have a very nice relationship with Marty, a very kind relationship. When they say goodbye near the end, it is very, heart-wrenching for a brief moment, and then we get back into fun. And then when Doc shows him the ripped-up letter, and it's just really genuine and sweet, and I think Johnny would bring a real sweetness to that.
If you've ever, or if you haven't ever seen the movie Finding Neverland, my personal opinion is that is one of Johnny Depp's best films.
I love that.
It tells the story of John M. Barrie, who wrote the Peter Pan novel, and it is exquisitely done, and it shows Johnny Depp in something other than the Pirates of the Caribbean thing going on, which many people of Kristen's generation have never seen him do anything serious. So, check out Finding Neverland if you get the chance.
But yeah, I think Johnny would do a really good job as Doc.
I concur. Well, next up, we start casting Marty McFly's mom.
Originally played by Leah Thompson.
By Leah Thompson. An aside, if we can, just for a moment. Kristen and I liked the television show Scorpion. It aired on CBS for 5 years, and Leah Thompson became a recurring role in the third or fourth season. In one of the episodes, she's driving a panel van, trying to get away from Libyans who are shooting at her.
And she goes, "They found me. I don't know how, but they found me." We paused the show and looked at each other.
It was absolutely brilliant.
We had to explain to my mother and my older sister why we were so excited about this.
So, writers of Scorpion, if you're watching,
Thank
great
you.
job. Fantastic
Thank you so
job.
much. And I think it was actually coming out around an anniversary of
Somewhere
Back
around
to,
that.
I think it was around
Yeah.
the 30th anniversary, because I
you're
think
right.
they're celebrating their 35th this year.
Anyway.
So that's also really cool.
Incredible actress Leah Thompson played Lorraine in the original film. She did an exquisite job of bouncing back and forth between Marty's mom and Marty's mom 1955. With all of the predilections of a teenager, a teenage lady in the 50s. She does it very, very well. However, this is recasted. We're not talking about the great actors and actresses who posed the original roles. My pick is another Enola Holmes. We really like that television show. It's had 2 seasons now on Netflix. If you get the chance, go and watch it. The main actress for Enola Holmes is Millie Bobby Brown. She, I think, would make an incredible Lorraine. I think she would have to tone down perhaps some of her Britishness as well, and maybe do a lot of investigation into what a teenager of 1955 would actually be like, since she's in her 20s. So, my pick is Millie Bobby Brown. There are a lot of other great actresses out there, especially in their 20s right now, who could very well fill this role. But Millie Bobby Brown's my pick.
Yeah, when you watch Stranger Things, you'll actually get a glimpse of her
That's
American
right.
accent, and she actually does a spot-on accent. But yeah, her Britishness does sometimes come through, but her American accent is still fairly solid.
Totally forgot. Kristen points out that she's also a Stranger Things alum.
that's going to be a recurring trend on this list. Don't you worry. My picks for Lorraine. So Haley Steinfeld is number one, and I know her. Yes, sir. I know her from Hawkeye. But she's been in this business since she was a kid. I believe her first role was True Grit with Matt Damon and Jeff Bridges.
Right.
So yeah, she certainly knows how to act. She's good dramatically, but she does have a fantastic comedic presence. Again, see Hawkeye on Disney Plus. It's the holiday season. It's a Christmas show.
It's set during the holidays in New York City. What more would you want?
And
incredible.
Haley carries the show. Like, Jeremy Renner does his job beautifully. Do not ever make out that I'm not loving Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye. He's one of my favorites. But Haley does such a good job helping him carry the show.
Absolutely.
And I think she would do very well in this role. She's very quirky. And I think she would do well with Lorraine with the quirkiness, because she would be able to handle the Marty freaking out bits. And also, I think the pink dress would look lovely on her. Next pick, Peyton List. You know her from Cobra Kai.
Okay.
Originally, she was a Disney kid. I believe she was on the show Jessie. She is one of those actresses that until you see her all grown up, you're like, oh yeah, she's cute, it's fine. Once you see her in Cobra Kai, you realize that she does have some really great acting chops.
An incredible physical presence as well. Just the regimen that she had to go through to get ready for Cobra Kai would have...
it would have been intense.
It would have been incredibly intense.
And Lorraine actually does have a little bit of fight in her. She tries to fight Biff a few times during the film, I believe. So she would definitely be able to handle the big lug. Ugh, Biff. Ugh. We'll talk about him in a minute. I also think she would, but I think she would bring a loveliness to Lorraine. Peyton List is a lovely actress. And I think she would be able to toe the line between rebellious teen and sweet girl that she is. Very well. And my final pick, in a similar vein to Peyton, is Dove Cameron. Also a Disney kid. I know her best for Descendants. She's kind of a Broadway baby. But I think she would play this very well, especially since in what I've seen her in, she tends to gravitate more towards the rebel teen type character, which is what Lorraine is in the 50s.
Also a singer. You check out her music on iTunes.
Yeah. Again, she's kind of a Broadway baby, so a few of them would be Broadway cast albums, but she does have a very lovely voice. But yeah, Dove Cameron would be very interesting as Lorraine. She has a spunk to her that I think would breathe through with Lorraine very well.
Okay.
All right. Up next, George.
George McFly is that character in this movie that, besides Marty, you just really want to see him be the hero. You want him to succeed. You want him to throw off the shackles of his nerdiness, so to speak. Planet Vulcan. So you have he has an instant appeal, and for the actor that we want to recast, they also need to be able to do some of the things that Crispin Glover did as well. Now, you may also know Crispin Glover. He later on did the film with Johnny Depp, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and several other things. Go to Wikipedia. It has a complete listing. I was surprised when I was doing research to see
he was in that.
Yeah, to see the films that he was actually in. He was also with Johnny Depp in the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland.
Also with Helena Bonham Carter.
With Helena Bonham Carter. So, again, recurring themes as we go through. But for my recasting of George McFly, I have Ty Simpkins. Now, the name may not be immediately recognizable to you, but the actor will be. He was in 2 different Marvel films, Iron Man 3 and Avengers Endgame. That's right.
At the very end.
All grown up in Avengers Endgame with a good George McFly look, if you ask my opinion. He was the kid from Iron Man 3 who is now all grown up. He's in his 20s now. And I think he would make an excellent George McFly. You really haven't seen much of him, or I haven't personally. If you've seen one of Ty Simpkins' films or television shows, please let us know in the comments. We'd love to love to investigate other things that he's done. Because as a kid, he was very gifted play with Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man 3.
Also very good in Jurassic World.
Forgot about Jurassic World. Yeah, exactly. So Ty Simpkins is my George McFly. I think he and Millie Bobby Brown would have enough chemistry there that they would be able to pull off the married
Older
Lorraine
couple.
and George older,
And then the sweet high school kids.
the sweet high school kids, and then the George and Lorraine lovey-dovey
2.0.
later on.
2.0.
So, yeah, exactly. So I really think Ty Simpkins and Millie Bobby Brown would be able to play off of one another to fulfill those roles exquisitely.
They'd be cute. Okay, so my top pick for George is Dylan O'Brien. I don't think you've seen him in anything. He is best known for Teen Wolf, or at least that's where I've seen him, the MTV show.
Okay, very interesting thing. Michael
Also
J. Fox
a remake of a Michael J. Fox movie.
starred in the
completely
original Teen
forgot
Wolf,
that.
and
I completely forgot
Justin
that.
Bateman took over the role in Teen Wolf 2, but Michael J. Fox starred in the original film.
Yeah.
Not too long after Back to the Future came out.
Yeah, I think shortly after the first one.
Right.
Like in between 1 and 2, he
Right.
filmed Teen Wolf.
So going back to your cast.
Yeah, Dylan O'Brien. He plays Styles in Teen Wolf, and he is really a George-type character in Teen Wolf. He's the nerd. He just wants the bullies to leave him alone. He just wants to hang out with his friend and talk about his nerd stuff. Or the werewolf stuff, given that it's a werewolf show. But he also has this really genuine sweetness to him. And one of the best things about George is how sweet he genuinely is. He's a dork. He's a nerd. He is not good at articulating himself very well. But when he's not up in trees bird watching, he is a very sweet young man.
And you see the character later on being very kind to Biff, even when he doesn't have to be.
Yeah, when we flash back to the future, he is actually kind to Biff, just making sure Biff doesn't con him. So it is really sweet, and I think Dylan could pull off the sweetness of it. Also, I think he would play great off of Haley Steinfeld. My next pick, another Stranger Things alum, Joe Quinn. He played Eddie in the most recent season of Stranger Things, season 4, I think it is. And Eddie is one of the best characters that has ever come out of Stranger Things, like, in my opinion. Sean Astin's Bob is probably always going to be my favorite, but Eddie is a close second.
Sean Astin. Enough said.
We'll get to Sean Astin in a different video because we love Sean Astin here at Cross and Kin. But yeah, Joe Quinn is such a good actor. You don't think he's going to be the really kind person in Stranger Things. You think he's going to be another bully to our main group of kids, but he actually becomes one of the sweetest Big Brother characters in the show. Steve is still the best, but Eddie is a very close second. And he's so good. He's so good. And I think he would be able to play the nerdy George to a T. He would be so sweet and beautiful as George. Like, I can't even stand how cute it would be. Also, he's somebody that I would just stand up and cheer for during the knockout Biff moment, because I want to see Joe Quinn punch somebody very badly. I don't know why. We do not support violence here at Cross and Kin, but Joe Quinn throwing that punch, it would feel really good.
Speaking of Biff.
Not yet.
Oh, sorry.
I have one more. There are 3. There are 3. Cole Sprouse. He has black hair now, so he actually does look more like George now. He's pretty much played a George-type character. A loner, a nerd, an outcast on Riverdale for the last, oh golly, how many years? I think they're going into like their 7th season now.
Andy would have an instant stand-in with Dylan.
Yes, if he didn't want to get beaten up by Biff at any point during the movie, he could just call Dylan and say, hey, come take a punch for me.
Brotherly love.
Brotherly love. It'd be very sweet. But, yeah, I think Cole would play it very well. Again, he's been playing a George-type character for the last 7 years, so it would be really cool to see what he brought to the role. And this isn't a dig. This is a compliment. All the actors I've picked, I think he's the only one we wouldn't have to dump a mountain of grease on. Just a little dabble do ya.
Yeah, the 50s were known for that. My dad was a barber, and oftentimes I would ask him about hair products from that time. I mean, it was everything from actual motor oil in some instances for the very, very poor to a thing called Brill Cream, which had an ad motto called "A little dabble do ya." That was for you guys out there that are my age and older. We take care of you here at the Crossing Ken Garage.
But so, yeah, I think Cole would do a very, very good job.
Speaking of the Sprouse brothers, I think either of them would come along and do a very fine Biff as well. And Biff Tannen is our next character that we're going to recast.
Oh, Biff.
He is that character that from the very beginning of the film.
From the moment you meet him.
From the moment you meet him, you really just want to see him smacked around.
Yep.
Again, we do not condone violence of any kind here at Crossing Ken.
But in the fictional realm of movies.
We know that there are characters that you just want to see bad things happen to them. Let's leave it there.
Little bit.
Biff is that character. Instantaneously, you want to see what is going to happen in the narrative as you proceed through the film, but you want not nice things to happen to Biff.
Especially near the end in the final confrontation, because 13-year-old Kristen, when she watched this film, she did not realize what Biff was trying to do to Lorraine.
Anyway,
but Biff is awful, so if you like watching Biff get punched, make sure that you don't cast an actor you actually like.
This is true. If you were recasting alongside of us and you just love that character, I wouldn't put him in the Biff role.
The actor,
rather. Sorry. My character is one I discovered, in fact, this afternoon. I've never seen the film that he was in, but I Googled 20-something actors. It was just scrolling through because I've had the hardest time casting the Biff Tannen character. I thought about the
young man, Flash Thompson.
Flash Thompson from the Spider-Man films. I don't remember his name right off the top of my head, but Flash Thompson is one of those characters that you really just want to smack the minute he comes onto the frame.
I mean, yeah.
However, I felt like the longer I looked, the more I was drawn to a young man from the film The Great Gatsby, the Leonardo DiCaprio film.
The newer one.
Right. This guy played the young Gatsby in some of the earlier portions of the film. Again, this is not a film I've ever seen before. If you have a review or you really enjoyed that film, please let us know. Again, down in the comments sections. We want to know about these great films that we've missed out on that we probably need to give another nod to.
Yeah.
This guy, his name is Callan McAuliffe. He's an Australian, and I think he wouldn't have to bulk up a whole lot to pull off Biff. The picture that I saw was rather menacing. Just to look him up online, I think to be in a film with Leonardo DiCaprio, he'd have to be a quality actor.
Yeah.
Regardless of how major or minor the role might have been, DiCaprio is really one of those actors of our time that has risen to the surface as doing some high quality things.
Yeah.
Again, What's Eating Gilbert Grape starred Leonardo DiCaprio.
That's the film that got him his first Oscar nomination.
Exactly, his first Oscar nomination. Now, Great Gatsby, again, go read the book, watch any of the film iterations of this movie.
It's been made, like 50 times?
It's been remade several times. Somebody took recasting that role very seriously. So, my role for Biff is Callan McAuliffe.
All right. Can you say that multiple times in a row?
No. Moving on.
Okay, my 3 picks for Biff. I'm going to try to go through them quickly. Austin Butler recently played Elvis in the movie titled Elvis.
For people my age, you really need to go and see Elvis. It is very reminiscent. People older than me should certainly go and see it because Elvis came along. His high period was a little bit before my time. When he passed away in '76, I was in the 6th grade. So, music's incredible. Austin Butler does a phenomenal job.
So Elvis gets a recommendation from Daddy. All right. So Austin Butler, he kind of made the rounds in teen television. He was on both Nickelodeon and on Disney. I know him best for the Switched at Birth television show from ABC Family, which coincidentally starred Leah Thompson.
Leah Thompson, exactly.
And he was good in that role, but at the beginning of it, he starts out as pretty much a jerk. And that's kind of the only roles I've seen him in. I haven't gotten the opportunity to see Elvis yet. I'm hoping to catch it when it comes to TV or streaming sometime soon. But until I see Elvis, Austin Butler is one of those actors that I'm just like, dude, why do you play jerks? Why do you play roles that make me want to punch you? So he was kind of an obvious choice, considering that's my thought process for most of the roles I've seen Austin Butler in. Second, Dacre Montgomery, another Stranger Things alum. He played the bully, Billy. So he's used to playing major bullies, and Billy is pretty much a psychopath in the 2 seasons of Stranger Things that he's in. You are terrified of him a lot. While Dacre seems like an absolutely lovely actor and person from everything I've read about him and seen in various interviews, he's good at playing scary. And Biff is scary. For all intents and purposes, Biff is a scary 80s movie villain. That's probably the best way to phrase it. He's a scary 80s movie villain. And I think Dacre would pull him off very well. My last pick is Alexander Ludwig. We know him from the sports film When the Game Stands Tall. Very good sports movie. We'll talk a bit more about that in a future video that we do on sports movies, but that's for another time. Alexander Ludwig, he's very physically like Biff. He's a big dude. He's been on the History Channel show Vikings for many years, or he was on the show for many years, I believe, and so he had to be big.
Right.
And so he could definitely handle the physicality of Biff, and I'll be honest, I saw him in Hunger Games and really wanted him to be punched because he was playing one of the primary antagonists in that film. So, yeah. you just, if you played a villain in a movie that I saw as a teenager, I'm probably gonna want you punched at one point.
I promise, Kristen is not
I'm not a violent
person,
but movie characters, I get passionate about movies, and if a movie character makes me mad or hurts a character that I actually love, I get protective.
We didn't start this segment about Biff by saying who the great actor was that played the role.
Yes, and we apologize for that.
Thomas F. Wilson. You really don't see him in a whole lot after Back to the Future.
He's had bit roles in a lot of stuff. He's played a coach multiple times. I cannot off the top of my head tell you in what films and shows he's played it, but he seems to play a football coach very well.
Yeah, go check out his filmography at wikipedia.org.
It's much longer than you would believe.
Much longer than what you would imagine.
Like, it's surprisingly long.
Right. So Thomas F. Wilson.
We're thrilled that you have a wonderful career, sir.
Yes.
Our final role. It's kind of a thankless role in the film, but honestly, this character is part of the reason we're trying so very hard to get Back to the Future.
That's right. Jennifer is one of those characters, as Kristen said at the outset, that was originally played by Claudia Wells. She was a lady that Michael J. Fox wanted to play the role. She wasn't the first choice even for that role. Again, go back to the Back to the Future Wikipedia page and it explains several of these little idiosyncrasies about the film that seem ironic perhaps, but they are incredibly interesting, I think. Claudia Wells plays the character Jennifer in the very first film. Now, she's played extremely well in the 89 sequel and the 1990 sequel, Back to the Future 2 and 3, by Elizabeth Shue. Oscar-winning award actress Elizabeth Shue.
Best known for Karate Kid and CSI.
As well as Leaving Las Vegas with Nicolas Cage. Elizabeth Shue does an incredible job in the second and third parts of the film trilogy. Her actual Jennifer's role, they actually went back and refilmed all of that for the beginning of Back to the Future 2.
They refilmed pretty much the entire end segment of the first film so that there wouldn't be a continuity error per se when Jennifer came along with Doc and Marty for the roads where we're going, we don't need Rhodes.
Anyway, Jennifer plays a little bit more of an important role in the second film, not so much in the third, but in the second film, a little bit more. Not much. But she is that character that we really, since she was recast to begin with, we didn't have any difficulties recasting her here.
She is very important to the story, however. Since she is Marty's girlfriend, he wants to get back to her. In fact, one of the first things he says to Doc when he goes to Doc for help, he shows him a picture of Jennifer and like, look what I have to go back to. So she is important even if she's only at the beginning for like 2-3 minutes and at the end for about the same amount of time.
Anyway, our recasting is a lady who's played a minor character in a more modern day film. Spider-Man, all 3 iterations of the Spider-Man films with Tom Holland. Not the Tobey or Andrew Garfield versions. But the Tom Holland films have really come along and done a great job of creating Spider-Man for the MCU. One of the characters in there, she's a little bit annoying in all 3 films, but it's the character of Betty Brant. Yep, Betty Brant.
Yes.
The actress's name is Ajoy Bryce.
If we mispronounce names on
Please,
this channel,
forgive.
We are trying our absolute best, but some of these names are difficult.
I believe it's Anjari Rice. She plays Betty Brant, in the Spider-Man films. The lady who is the newscaster, the love interest for the guy in the chair. Ned. And so she's kind of along for the ride on all of the adventures that Peter Parker and his high school chums have.
But she does make you smile every time she's on screen.
She is a very engaging character, but she has just moments where you're just like, please shut up. Stop talking. Please.
Anyway, why have you chosen her as Jennifer?
I think she is a actress that fits the age mold, but I think she could also pull off very sweet the engaging Jennifer, who would play well against my Finn Wolford. I think those it would be interesting to see the chemistry that could come up between those two on screen, and I think she makes a very good Jennifer.
All right. 3 more and we're done. I promise. All right. So my top pick for Jennifer is Keke Palmer. She's one of those actresses that I've known since I was a kid. She was a Nickelodeon and Disney star. But I think I know her best for Joyful Noise with Dolly Parton and Queen Latifah and Jeremy Jordan. Keke brings this ferocity, for lack of a better word, to every single role she's in. Like, it doesn't matter how small the role is, you will remember it if that role was played by Keke Palmer. She is so good.
And she's a gifted and talented musician as well.
Yeah, she's got a lovely voice.
Lovely
voice. She is so cool, and I think she would play very well off of Joe Keery. I think their dynamic would just be so interesting. So yeah, Keke is my top choice. My next choice is Taylor Russell. She played Judy Robinson in the Netflix show Lost in Space, in the remake of the original.
I thought you were going to say Taylor Swift. Whew.
No.
Thank goodness.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
Sorry.
Taylor Russell. Judy Robinson from Lost in Space for Netflix. We loved the original Lost in Space. We also loved the new version. She proved herself very well as Judy, and I think she was phenomenal. I think she is one of those actresses that is very slowly but surely making her way in Hollywood,
right,
and she's going to be one of the next big actresses of our time, I believe. I think she's really, really good in everything I've seen her in. She has a warmth to her that I think would work very well for Jennifer. And also she just seems lovely. So yes, Taylor Russell. My last pick is Naomi Scott, also a Disney alum. She was in a Disney Channel original movie called Lemonade Mouth, but she has more recently, that I have seen her, play Jasmine in the Aladdin live-action remake. Lovely actress. I think, again, in the similar vein to Taylor Russell, I think she has this great warmth about her, and just she's very lovely. Every single thing I've seen her in, she has this genuine, beautiful sweetness, kindness, just this genuineness. That's probably the best way to phrase it. She comes off so genuine in every single role I've seen her in that I think she would just play Jennifer beautifully.
And Jennifer is one of those very sincere roles that you need someone who would pull off genuineness in an exquisite way.
Well, I mean, she's the love interest. She's the reason he wants to get back to the future.
That's right.
So she has to be good for something.
One of the things that we've not wanted to do in our vein of recast it, especially with this particular film,
is go for the easy pick.
There are some of those things. Obviously, the thing that was out that went viral,
2020, I think, is when it was happening,
with Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr.
and Marty and Doc, respectively. There were deep fakes. There were people pretty much deep faking the entire movie.
Although these were very good, we're not suggesting by any stretch of the imagination. We went for those characters, perhaps that you didn't know their body of work, or the actors that you didn't know their body of work, and we wanted to introduce you to some of those things that we thoroughly enjoy them being in.
What do you guys think? Did we do good, or did we overlook an actor that would have been much better in that particular role?
Take a few minutes and recast it yourself. Back to the Future. One thing that we did not want to recast was the music from Back to the Future.
No.
You can't beat Huey Lewis and the News.
Absolutely not.
Power of Love is an incredible song. Back in Time is a great song that goes along with the film. And the whole rest of the soundtrack was composed by Hollywood soundtrack artist Alan Silvestri. It's very, very good. It matches the film. It does what a soundtrack is supposed to do, and that's bolster the storyline as you go through the film. Also, interesting enough, Lindsey Buckingham and Eric Clapton both are on this soundtrack as well.
Are they now?
They are, yeah. So,
awesome.
Check out the Back to the Future soundtrack. I'm sure it's cheap on eBay, probably under $5.
We have the awesome vinyl here, but you can probably get it on iTunes, Apple Music, whatever you're listening to these days.
Stream it, Spotify, even YouTube, I suspect has.
YouTube does. I looked.
Absolutely. So that's our episode called Recast It. We hope that you've enjoyed it. We are looking forward to being able to recast some other iconic films.
We already have one planned that we hope to film here soon. It's a Christmas movie.
Yeah, with a lot of explosions.
Yeah, so that'll hopefully be here in a few weeks. But before that, we actually have another video that we're hoping to film. I believe it's next week. We'll have a special guest star for that one. So you know who you are, so I sincerely hope you watch this episode, so shout out to you.
Well.
But for today, we are closing out. Please be sure to comment down below your recastings and what you thought of ours. Please be sure to like the video. Please share the video so that more people can know what Cross and Kin is all about. And so that you never miss an upload, be sure to turn on the notifications. Just tap the little bell icon that I think is right below the video.
And as an epilogue for today, I've, for the last decade, written a blog. It's called Tuesday's Musical Notes. It's about music. I have an incredible love for music, have always loved music, as you can see. We shot three different versions, 3 different videos for Cross and Kin, and so far music has been a part of the backdrop for every one of them. It's at tuesdaysmusicalnotes.blogspot.com.
I put a link to one that he did today in our community tab, so be sure to check that out for a quick, easy link.
They come out every Tuesday. Check it out.
All right, so until next time, I'm Kristen.
I'm Randy. We're coming to you live from the Cross and Kin Garage.
And we hope to see you next time. Bye!
Thanks for coming.